What happened when civilizations matured 4,500 years ago? Around 2500 BC, something remarkable began to occur across the ancient world. The scattered villages of earlier times had transformed into something entirely new. They had become empires. From the banks of the Indus River to the Yellow River Plains, from the Fertile Crescent to the Korean Peninsula, kings began to rule over vast territories. Law codes were written on stone, and myths became history. Today, we will witness the moment when humanity wrote its first legal codes, built its first planned cities, and established its first dynasties. Let us begin with the Indus River, the land of modern-day Pakistan and northwest India. Around 2500 BC, if you had flown over this region, you would have seen something unprecedented. Two cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, rose from the plains. These were not chaotic settlements like those of earlier times. They were meticulously planned cities. The streets were laid out in perfect grids. Every house had a bathroom connected to an underground sewer system. Water wells were placed at regular intervals. Archaeologists who discovered these ruins centuries later were astonished. They planned this entire city before building it. But here's what was most remarkable. Unlike Mesopotamia or Egypt, we have found no palaces, no massive temples dedicated to individual kings, no grand monuments celebrating rulers. What we have found are public baths, granaries, and standardized weights. This suggests something revolutionary, a society organized not around a single divine king, but around collective needs and systematic governance. The seals discovered in the Indus Valley depict animals, bulls, elephants, unicorns, and beneath them, a script that still remains undeciphered. We know they traded, we know they built, but what did they think? This question haunts every archaeologist studying this civilization. Now let us turn east to the Yellow River, the cradle of Chinese civilization. Around 2500 BC, along the muddy waters of the Yellow River, something began that would shape human history for millennia. The Yellow River is unlike any other river. It cuts through the lowest plateau, carrying millions of tons of fertile yellow silt downstream. When it floods, it deposits this silt across vast plains, creating land so rich that crops could be harvested twice a year. People settled along these plains. They learned to predict the floods, to build dikes and canals, to coordinate thousands of workers. According to legend, around this time, a figure named Yu the Great emerged. He was said to have tamed the Yellow River's floods, digging channels that directed the water away from settlements. For 13 years he worked. He passed his own house 3 times, but never entered. This legend, recorded centuries later, captures something essential. Those who controlled the river controlled the people. Those who organized the waterworks organized society itself. This was the beginning of what would become the Xia Dynasty, China's first legendary dynasty, said to have been founded around 2070 BC. Whether Yu the Great was a real historical figure or a composite of many leaders, the story reflects a fundamental truth. In ancient China, hydraulic engineering and political power were inseparable.
But what about the Korean Peninsula? Around 2333 BC, according to the Samgukgusa, a 13th century Korean text, something extraordinary happened in the land that would become Korea. A figure named Dankun, the son of a heavenly prince and a bear woman, founded a kingdom called Gojoseon. He established his capital at Asadal, creating what Korean tradition calls the first Korean state. Now, historians debate whether this date is historical or mythological, but the significance of this story cannot be overstated. For Koreans, 2333 BC marks not just a date, but the beginning of a continuous national identity. October 3rd, based on this date, is still celebrated as National Foundation Day in South Korea. The story of Dankun speaks to something universal: the human need to claim ancient origins, to connect present identity to primordial beginnings. Whether Dankun was a real person or a legend, his story has shaped Korean consciousness for thousands of years.
Now let us return to Mesopotamia, to a moment that changed human civilization forever. Around 1750 BC, though tradition dates the events earlier, a Babylonian king named Hammurabi did something unprecedented. He had the laws of his kingdom carved into a massive stone pillar, a black diorite steel standing over 2 meters tall. At the top, Hammurabi stands before the sun god Shamash, receiving the divine authority to rule and judge. Below, 282 laws were inscribed in cuneiform script. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. This phrase, though it doesn't appear exactly in the code, captures the principle of proportional justice that runs through it. But the code of Hammurabi was far more sophisticated than simple retaliation. If a builder builds a house and it collapses and kills the owner, the builder shall be put to death. If a surgeon performs an operation and the patient dies, his hand shall be cut off. These were not arbitrary punishments. They were systematic attempts to regulate commerce, family life, social hierarchy. For the first time in history, laws were written, public, and permanent. Anyone could approach the stele and read the rules that governed them, or more accurately, have them read aloud, since most people were still illiterate. This was revolutionary because it meant laws were no longer just the whim of a king. They were a contract between ruler and ruled. Let justice prevail in the land. Let the strong not oppress the weak. Let the orphan and the widow be given justice. These words, carved in stone 3,700 years ago, still resonate today in every courthouse and legal system around the world. Meanwhile, in China, legend was becoming history. Around 1600 BC, though Chinese tradition places it earlier, the Shang Dynasty arose to replace or follow the Xia. The Shang left behind something the Xia did not: written records. Oracle bones, tortoise shells, and ox scapulae were inscribed with questions and then heated until they cracked. Priests interpreted these cracks as answers from the spirit world. Will it rain tomorrow? Should the king attack the neighboring tribe? Will the harvest be abundant? Thousands of these oracle bones survive today, providing us with the earliest examples of Chinese writing. But the Shang Dynasty was more than just divination. They built walled cities, the largest covering over 20 square kilometers. They developed bronze metallurgy to levels unmatched elsewhere, creating elaborate vessels for ritual ceremonies. These bronze vessels were not mere decorations. They were central to the Shang understanding of power. The king, through elaborate rituals, communicated with ancestral spirits, seeking their approval for decisions of state. If the ancestors approve, we prosper. If they disapprove, disaster follows. This was the Shang worldview. Archaeological excavations of Shang capitals reveal something striking: mass human sacrifice. Dozens, sometimes hundreds of bodies buried alongside kings and nobles. Most were prisoners of war. This tells us that the Shang state was built on conquest, organized violence, and systematic terror. But it was also built on something else: writing, ritual, and the belief that human order reflected and influenced cosmic order. Here we discover something truly remarkable. Around 2500 to 1750 BC, across distances that would take months or years to travel, similar transformations were occurring simultaneously. The Indus Valley was building planned cities with advanced infrastructure. China was developing hydraulic engineering and centralized states. Mesopotamia was codifying laws and systematizing justice. The Korean peninsula was establishing its foundational myths. These developments were not isolated. They represented humanity reaching a new stage of complexity. Cities were going larger, populations were increasing, specialization was deepening. One person could no longer do everything. Society needed farmers, craftsmen, soldiers, priests, scribes, and rulers. And with specialization came hierarchy. Some people had more power than others. Some had more wealth. Some had more knowledge. This was the age when humanity began to organize itself on scales never before imagined. Hammurabi could rule over hundreds of thousands. The Shang kings could mobilize tens of thousands for warfare and construction. The Indus cities could coordinate massive public works projects. All of this required new technologies of power: writing to record decisions, laws to regulate behavior, rituals to legitimate authority, myths to justify hierarchy. 4,500 years ago, around 2500 to 1750 BC, these dates are not just numbers. They represent the moment when human civilization crossed a threshold that cannot be uncrossed. Before this period, societies were local, experimental, reversible. Villages could be abandoned, knowledge could be lost, technologies could disappear. But after this period, something changed. The Code of Hammurabi, even if the original stele was lost, established a principle: laws must be written, public, and permanent. The planned cities of the Indus Valley, even if they were eventually abandoned, demonstrated a capacity. Humans could design entire urban systems. The dynasties of China, even if the details of the Xia and early Shang are legendary, created a pattern: centralized states managing vast territories. These innovations were not temporary experiments. They became templates, models that future civilizations would adopt, adapt, and build upon. 4,500 years later, we still live in their shadow. Every modern legal system owes something to Hammurabi. Every modern city reflects the principles of urban planning first developed in the Indus Valley. Every modern state uses techniques of centralization and control first perfected in ancient China. But we also inherit their problems: institutionalized inequality, concentrated power, the use of organized violence to maintain order. 4,500 years later, we still face the same questions. How do we balance order and freedom? How do we distribute power justly? How do we build civilizations that serve all their members, not just the rulers. 2500 1750 BC was not just a period. It was the moment when humanity learned to think in scales. Scales of time, scales of space, scales of organization. It was the moment when we first wrote down our laws, planned our cities, and systematized our beliefs. It was the moment when we first asked, who are we? Where do we come from? What rules should govern us? These questions, first asked 4,500 years ago, still define us today. So the next time you read a legal document, walk through a planned neighborhood, or study your national history, remember, you are standing on foundations laid 4,500 years ago by the Indus city planners, the Yellow River engineers, the Babylonian lawgivers, and the founders of ancient kingdoms. We are all inheritors of the age of ancient empires. We are all shaped by the decisions made in 2500 1750 BC. We are all still learning how to live with the power that our ancestors first concentrated and codified. In the next video, we'll explore how these ancient empires clashed and transformed into the classical civilizations you know today. Please subscribe and like, and let us know in the comments which ancient empire or law code you'd like to learn more about. Thank you for watching.